Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are an anime podcast that every 2 weeks we watch an anime. We come on this podcast and we talk about it, and then we turn the discussion over to our comment section. That is what we're all about. This week we did something special that we do around the start of every year to give ourselves a little bit of a winter vacation. We watched a movie anime instead of a TV series, so we'll be discussing that today. And to do it, I need the help of my co-host. First off, we have the Little Witch Academia to my kill, Jeremy. How you doing?
Pretty good. Trying to figure out what those two have in common.
They're made by the same studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they made that. I've actually been wanting to watch Little Witch Academia and see what that's about. Heard good things.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I actually have to revise the score that I gave Cyberpunk last time. I finished it now, and I gotta give it a 9. And I'm only docking it for bugs and for like the shallow simulation, but that's really, from my experience, that's only like a 1 point. Of course, I did play it on PC, but the story is so good and the city is so big. Like I finished that game after putting in 140 plus hours on that character, and I went back afterwards and I've started another character. And I'm doing completely different things. Like, I haven't even started the main quest yet. Not even the prologue. And I'm already, like, 30 hours in and I'm having fun. And I just, like, wow. I'm shocked. As much as they didn't deliver on what they set out, what they did provide has really been value for the money that I paid. So I'm really impressed with it.
You're not actually the first person I've heard give that review when they got to the end. Like, yeah, I had to deal with bugs and glitches, and they're frustrating. But when I finished the story, I felt very satisfied. This is a very huge accomplishment for this team.
Yeah, and I played it on hard the first time because I wanted it to be, really difficult to get through. And now I'm playing it on insane or very difficult, they call it. And it's great. It's just like this is so good, and I want to see what all the other options are. And like finishing the game, there's like 4 different ways to play the final mission, and I'll tell you, the final mission took like about an hour to do, maybe more. It was just crazy long. Really good stuff.
All right. We also have the Kisniver to my Gurren Lagann, Jason.
Oh, I hate you. I have yet to see Gurren Lagann. I need to do that. Doing all right. Been just trying. So I was getting a little bored with 7 Days to Die. So I decided to tweak some of it because it has a bunch of settings you can do in your saved game. I made it Horde Night every night, and that's spiced it up.
You actually got good enough at that game that you needed Horde Night every night to be entertaining? I remember when we were trying to play that game, the 3 of us together, and we were really having some trouble.
Yeah, it's puts a little stress. So it's been pretty fun.
Very cool.
And my name is Troy. I finished Queen's Gambit on Netflix. The chess girl with drug addiction is a chess prodigy in the late 60s, early 70s. It's not a true story, but it's very much like a period drama. But also some really cool chess in it. Like, it made chess playing cool and intense. I really liked it. The ending, I didn't feel served the character quite good enough, but I'm kind of alone in my opinion on that, so I don't think that's how most people would get out of it.
For some reason, I thought that was an anime. It's not, though, is it?
Nope, that's a
Okay.
regular show.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm starting my 100 movies in 2021 watch. I have this poster of 100 movies that won different Oscars throughout the years. I watched my very first one, Born Identity, last night.
Is that due to the roll of the dice?
I roll a dice. I rolled 100. Well, it turned out to be 120 sided dice. I didn't even know how many sides my dice had because I rolled it. It got 117. And I'm like, that's not on the poster. What am I gonna do? But yeah, so I rolled a dice. Got and tonight after we record here, I'm actually watching Fight Club. Is my next one. So, it's got everything from like Gone with the Wind, The Matrix, Lord of the Rings. The entire trilogy is one. But yeah, it's gonna be.
Wow.
It was a Christmas gift. It's a perfect challenge for me. I'm so excited, and I've been wanting to like, hey man, there's so many movies I've missed, and I'm such a movie buff that I need to go back and watch, and this is gonna take care of most of that. So I'm excited.
Cool.
Also, Born Identity is still a good movie. All right,
Yeah.
let's go on to talking about our anime movie. The anime movie that we watched, if you couldn't guess from the introductions, was Promare. It is Studio Trigger's big movie that they made. It is about firefighters, kind of. About as much as Fire Force is about firefighters. They kind of came out around the same time as firefighters. Everyone's like, why are there two firefighter things going on? But yeah, so we watched that, and we're going to start with our non-spoiler review. So Jason, why don't you tell us what you thought?
I had been telling you guys in chat that this is the most Studio Trigger thing I think I've ever seen in my life. The animation is gorgeous. The fight scenes are absolutely stunning. Unlike Fire Force, where they fight fire with fire, they shoot ice cubes, which I find hilarious. And they can shoot them and cuff people with the ice cubes, which I find even better. But yeah, nothing makes sense. Everything is beautiful. The music's great, and I did not think I would like it after about 20 minutes, and it was like a fever dream. It was pretty good.
All right, Jeremy, what'd you think?
Definitely not an anime for me. I can't remember if I really disliked Gurren Lagann or if it was just mildly, but that kind of gives you an idea of where this is.
I can answer that.
What was it? Was it really bad or just mildly?
We don't have it. I got to be quick, but there's a reason, because Gurren Lagann is one of the reasons we did a podcast. You watched Gurren Lagann at my request, and then you also watched Kill la Kill, and I watched Agami ka Kill at your request, and I was like, we should just do this. We should just like make each other watch stuff. But you thought, hey, this is pretty good. And then it starts getting sillier and sillier and crazier, and you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And it lost you about halfway through, I think.
That's exactly what this was. I started it out and I was like, okay, I can tell everything's dialed up to 11, everything's ridiculous. Like everything does whatever it needs to do in order for the scene to work and be action packed. And it's beautiful. I totally agree with that. And I really like the art style too. But once it got going and it had laid its sort of ground rules, and then it started breaking them or not adhering to them, I just was like, nope, I'm not on board for this. Nope, I cannot follow this. And yeah, so it was entertaining at the beginning, and then I was quickly ready to just leap off of that boat.
One thing I have to really applaud the animators for this particular movie is a lot of times you go, oh, that's CGI. Oh, that's CGI. And sometimes it can pull you out of the immersion. This was so well done. Like the mixture of their art with the CGI was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my this movie is super dumb. The story
Understatement.
The story is simple and underwhelming. The characters are undeveloped, and also this movie is awesome. This movie is so fun, but you have to you cannot think about this movie. You have to feel about this movie the whole way. As soon as you start thinking about it, everything falls apart. It rides 100% on emotion. Jason's absolutely right. It is Studio Trigger to its core, and it takes like one of the opening fights is like straight out of Kill la Kill, and then one of the ending fights is like straight out of Gurren Lagann. It is literally, their best of their best being snuck in, and it feels to me like a victory lap of Studio Trigger, of saying like, we made it as a studio, we have hits under our belt, we also have Knizer under our belt, let's make a movie and celebrate.
Jason's face, so good.
The music is fantastic. Straight up, Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill are some of the best soundtracks that play during the anime. The music in this is right up there with those songs.
Definitely.
And there's a couple, and the energy matches. When they always use those songs to kick up the energy for the fights. And there's a couple times in this movie I just yelled out, "Don't lose your way," because I can't help myself.
Yep.
It is very fun to watch, but it is not a smart show at all. And I think Jeremy's going to nitpick it, and I knew he would watching it, and I think he's going to be 100% right about everything he says. But I'll tell you, I still walked away loving this movie. And as I was prepping my notes to get ready to record the show, I'm like, I want to watch this again. I want to see it.
Oh my god.
I've seen it, I've seen it twice. I watched it once.
Is this like an infection or something?
I
don't understand.
I'm the emotional one of the group. It literally speaks my language, and and it got me. The first time I was like, "Oh, this is good." The second time I watched it, I'm like, "I think I love it." And now I'm like, "Yeah, one more time, just one more time." gotta fight the fires. So take that as you will. You really have to decide if it's your cup of tea, I think.
Yeah.
I will have to say, stuff like this normally isn't my cup of tea. But I do remember and like turning off the movie at the end, and like I had a huge smile on my face. Like, it makes you feel good.
No, and long you don't sit there and be like, did that make sense?
Yeah, I had to look at confusion on my face and frustration. That's what I had. Which I didn't have with Kill la Kill. I loved Kill la Kill, and I thought it was a really cool deconstruction of like the princess genre. And I think that's why I liked it so much. Just like,
So you don't think the escalation of like spoilers for Kill la Kill, which is the end battle, like we're fighting in space, we've turned into spaceship / warriors, that didn't bother you at all?
It didn't at the time. Honestly, I don't remember that clearly. But it didn't bother me at the time.
All right. There's no really opening or closing. I already kind of mentioned the music. Did you guys have any other thoughts on the music?
No. I mean, we're all right in.
Let's go to our spoiler section, though. So if you have not seen the movie, based on what we've said, it is now your time to decide if you want to see it. But we're going to be spoiling everything from here on out. There's going to be plot, there's going to be nitpicks, there's going to be characters, there's going to be nitpicks, and there's going to be just me going, I love it. That's what's ahead of you.
Is there going to be plot, though?
Is there?
Not really.
Look, plot happens. I can't tell you why plot happens.
Yeah, that's fair. Plot is a casualty.
All right. So we start with our setup, which is in modern times. Basically, random humans start to spontaneously combust, and they're not damaged. They literally are just killing everyone around them as they burst into flame. And it's angry people. A guy stuck in traffic, a guy crammed on the train, a pregnant woman whose husband leaves. People who are frustrated and angry, and they're called the Burnish. Burnish. The Burnish. and it's not regular fire, it's like pastel fire. Also, I hope you like the color of pastels. Colors. They are everywhere. And basically, they became this new mutant race and very X-Men-y and like, hey, humans versus them. And they kind of became this subclass who are now being hunted down or discriminated against.
Over the world burned, and then the survivors is what happened to them.
Yeah. They killed so many people.
Like half the population of the planet was killed, and most of the cities were destroyed.
I need to ask Jeremy about this, because in the dub, I heard someone say 50% of the population, but I couldn't understand if they were saying died or changed.
No, died.
Yeah,
that's what I got was died.
I only watched the dub as well, and that was the message I got, was that 50% killed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to 30 years later. basically now and we're in like this super high tech city in the middle of unmarked location, and like buildings have firefighting devices built into the side of them, like
That
literally
was cool.
water cannons come out and shoot, and a building's on fire, and with the burnish fire, and so fire rescue is called in, and we meet all of fire rescue, and there's a lot of characters. There's Ignis, Varys, Lucia, Remy. There's a scientist girl. No, Lucia's a scientist, and Aina, the pilot, and Gallo. So Gallo is our main character. Basically, these guys they're not there to really put out the fire. They're there to get people out of fires. They're the rescue team, and they come in with these giant mechs with ice guns that shoot ice bullets, and they fight fire snakes, and they save people, and then jump out of buildings. Our main character shows up because there's more people on the roof, and they're like, okay, we need to send someone up there, and they're putting it looks like a fire truck, but really it's a cannon to shoot the
Okay,
mech
I
out.
love that. It's literally the ladder that's the characteristic trademark of fire trucks and how it unfolds. But that's not a ladder. It's the barrel of a cannon, which unfolds, and then it shoots out the mechs at such a speed that the pilot that's inside there is just, he's doing that face thing where the wind goes through the cheeks and everything.
They literally tell
That's
him,
great.
he's screaming at the crowd like, I'm gonna get pumped up, let's go. And they're like, you need to sit down, you're gonna bite your tongue off. As they launch him.
Yeah.
They launch him into the roof, and he crashes, and everyone on the roof is like, oh, he died. That guy's dead. He jumps up, I'm
Yeah,
alive.
Exactly. The first, even he's surprised.
So
Yep.
this is our main character, Gallo. What did you think of him?
I thought he was pretty great. He's stupid, but he kind of just runs on pure emotion. Has no chill button whatsoever. And if I'm gonna solve my problems, it's gonna be with my fists. But he serves a perfect role for what they were trying to tell as far as the whole entire story, and like being that protagonist, because he filled a lot of the cliche protagonist ness of you, if you will, of normal anime like this. In fact, I think watching Fire Force before this was a service instead of a disservice, because my expectations were kind of flipped on their head. So it was I hate characters like this normally, and I really liked what they did with them. That's one thing this movie has it going for it. It's very self-aware, and I think that's one of the buying points for me about this movie.
For me, it's pretty much the same exact thing, as far as the fact that they were self-aware made him a bit more palatable to me. He was definitely entertaining. He was funny. He was consistently stupid, and I found that to be really endearing and really entertaining. But at the same time, like you pointed out, he is a character that kind of embodies that idea of willpower solves everything. And even in situations where willpower couldn't have helped him and didn't really help him, other things kind of were there to act as a shield so that it could seem like his willpower was doing it. And so I got what they were doing, and only the fact that they were self-aware about this and that they knew exactly what they were doing with him made him palatable to me. So he was all right.
I think the one part that kind of leads into what you're saying, Jeremy, that I think they did a good job with him as far as like willpower solves everything. There's a moment where someone says something really distasteful in front of him, and he's like, how can you say that? And like, so one of his teammates is like, you can't control what people think. And that was kind of a defeatist moment for him, and he had to go to like his quiet place. But yeah, I found that interesting that they decided to put that in. Like, hey, there's going to be some things that punching your way through it is not going to help.
Yeah.
If you've listened to this podcast, characters like this are my jam. The willpower driven.
I get stronger as I feel.
Yeah, and the only way I know how to tackle a solution is to walk into it straightforward, whether it's an ice cannon or fire or in imminent
Yep.
death, I have to walk forward into it. It's the only way I know. And to have everyone else's machinations working against him, and he knows he's like, I'm very limited in how I do things, and that's how I'm going to do it.
How are we going to do this? Grin and bear it.
So I absolutely love the character, and his moments where he just screams out sayings is one of my favorite parts about the whole movie. But I do have one complaint about him, and that is we find out he's the rookie of the group, but he's also not treated like a rookie of the group. They call him the rookie, and he's the new guy, but he's also very familiar with the team, and it's like they wanted to use both. This happens a couple times in this movie because I do feel like they wrote this out as a series and then turned it into a movie. So instead of watching a guy go from the newbie to familiar and their number one fighter, they're just like, well, he needs to be both at the start. He's both the newbie and he's the guy who can take on the big boss right away. And we have no time to have a growth arc, so he's both no matter what.
You're probably right. The way I interpreted it was that he's the rookie, but his willpower and emotions are so powerful that he believes he's the number one fighter, and that belief is all it takes for him to be that good.
All right, so he gets up onto this thing, and we see Aina come in. We'll talk about her in a little bit. Basically she flies a rescue plane that she has to drive in a motorcycle, so her butt's in the air. Very, very Darling in the Franxx, which I think Studio Trigger also did. Hey, this is the way all cockpits should be designed for women. I guess that's their way. So she gets the people off, and then 3 villains show up, and they're Burnish, but they're also part of a terrorist group. So they're called the Mad Burnish, and they're the last 3 remaining terrorists of this group, and it's the boss and his 2 right-hand men. And they're like in metal armor, but it's the fire. The fire makes no sense. Sometimes it's a liquid, sometimes it's an energy, sometimes it makes lightning, sometimes
it makes motorcycles.
I knew that was gonna get like I saw them make the motorcycles.
It makes
like, oh.
motorcycles. Or buggies, like weird buggies that you ride around, and instead of a motorcycle, it looked like Venom was riding around in a child's car from the backyard.
So the Jeremy part of my brain, the part where you live, Jeremy, actually came up with a reason why they could make solids. Because we find out later that the fire of the Burnish, there is an electromagnetic portion to it. So you could create physical resistance like a solid object,
force
right?
field. Mm-hmm.
Right. But that doesn't explain how you make a 6-stroke engine
Exactly.
to power a 4-wheeler.
Exactly.
A sword I can buy. Metal armor I can buy. This guy in this scene literally makes a 4-wheeler, and the other guy makes a 2-wheeler, and they just start driving around.
I also love that whenever it makes solid objects, the solid objects are black, which absorbs all color, which the fire is giving off color. So I don't understand how you could take something that's creating light and make it black when it becomes solid.
But it's not real fire. It's Promare fire.
It's whatever it needs to be.
That's right.
And it makes lightning, and it's fluid, and it's energy.
And it can defend you while looking like fire as well, without even changing into armor.
So these 2 guys actually start to beat him, and they're like, dude, your mech isn't made for this. You have a very slow mech. And he's like, hey, scientist girl, it's time. And she's like, oh yeah, we upgraded his mech to transform into a Matoi tech. This is the second time we've seen Matoi referenced in an anime, and so I finally had to look it up. Like, what are the mops for? They were flags that Japanese firemen would plant where water and I think acid was needed to put out fires. So they would run around into fires and plant these flags to signal, hey, bring water over here.
That's cool.
So, but so this guy's like, this is the Matoi tech from an Eastern island, an ancient civilization.
Faraway Eastern Island nation.
And it's got red and blue siren lights on top. And it comes with a little hologram helicopter that can play a video for him to explain why he's dressed like this. And the chief is like, why are you posing? You're in a fight.
Yeah.
The new suit takes out the two henchmen pretty easily. It's got like a spear, it's got a machine gun, of course, ice bullets, and he's got a pistol on him. He's able to take them out. And he's like, all right.
I have to compliment the fact that as ridiculous as these suits are, because they leave the body entirely vulnerable. So they're like exoskeleton suits where the pilot is completely available to the fire. But he actually uses that to constantly pull out his pistol and take pot shots. And I think that's really, 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 really funny.
That irritated the crap out of me every time he did it. Here he is in this tremendously teched out suit that has ice cannons on it to then pull out his pistol and fire from the center of this neck.
Yep.
I'm so upset.
And then even on top of that, the way these mechs are designed, they really crack me up because he's not the only one with mechs. There's a couple other characters that also have mechs in here, and they reminded me so much of those like Rescue Team Go or whatever it was called that used to be back in like the 80s and 90s, where they would have like these little exoskeletons you could clamp on for when they would go underwater or go into the sky and whatnot. It looked so much like it. But he also... What's that?
Oh, Paw Patrol.
Oh, I don't know that one. And he also, like, that second suit that he had was literally inside of the weapon he was wielding. Because he's got, like, this lance that he's running around in his main suit with, trying to hit the enemies with. And when he gives up, because he loses his arms, the next suit literally comes out of the lance. Like, it's the level of ridiculousness is so high. This is where it starts to get like Gurren Lagann for me.
No, you heard the scientist lady. She said that she'd prepped this earlier. This was all planned.
Hand wavy him.
So he decides he's going to take on the big boss, and everyone's like, don't fight the big boss. That's literally the boss of all the terrorists. And he's like, nope, I'm going to fight him. And they have a really cool battle throughout the city. This one looks very like the Kill la Kill big battle in the school hallways. They're flying across the city. At one point, he jams himself into one of the water cannons and uses it to launch.
Oh god, that was so funny.
And then they end up in another building, which also catches on fire, and start fighting in that one. He gets a couple good hits in. He takes off half the mask of the guy, but he ends up losing. His entire suit gets sliced apart because the bad guy makes a sword and manages to like take his whole suit apart. And he's like, "Oh, you beat me, but I'm part of a team." And the rest of the team rushes in and starts beating this guy up. And then the suit that he took apart clamps on to the bad guy and captures him. They're like, this is what the suit was really meant for, to capture bad guys.
Oh my god.
It was very Iron Man-esque how all the pieces kind of like clamped onto him.
But there were strings? Well, didn't they have strings?
There were literally strings coming out of each piece, even though he cut them with his sword. So why were the strings still attached? Like, it didn't make any sense.
It was a trap, Jeremy. It was a trap.
They designed just to fall apart that way. So we meet the leader of Mad Burnish, who isn't the villain of this story. He is the second protagonist. And his name is Leo. And he is a very powerful Burnish. And your guys' thoughts on him?
I actually liked him more for his motivations and his plight in this world than any story-related beats he's part of. But I really liked that, he had the same code that the firefighters did. Like, we're not here to kill anyone. We just want equal treatment. Like, we want to have normal lives. And even though they're considered terrorists, they're like, we have this innate desire to burn things, but we don't want to hurt anybody, which is kind of a weird dichotomy.
There's a term for that.
Right. But yeah, they his actions throughout the movie are childish, but they kind of make sense in the moment. But I did like because we've seen this before, right? You've got mutant or alien or whatever, and there's prejudice against them because of the way they are. There is a lot of that in this movie, but it was very tasteful. It wasn't kind of shoved down your throat. There was a very good, like, they sold it well, especially with that opening scene where half the population was murdered by these people.
Mhm.
But that was in a time before. This is a time now kind of thing.
Right,
So.
and they never explain what, because the terrorists have an agenda, but they never explain what came first, the evil corporation or the terrorists, who's reacting to who. They just kind of say, yeah, they both kind of exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really liked Leo as far as that character actually kind of, it was touching when he winds up having to, like, in his own mind, come to terms with potentially breaking his rule for himself. He just gets so upset because of the injustices that are done as he sees injustices. And I mean, frankly, the treatment is inhumane, and so it is unjust. But just witnessing that and the way that they artfully portrayed it, specifically, I'm talking about the dragon at the end. That was really cool, and that part of Leo was really interesting. And he came across as a very dignified gang leader, is how I would define him.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like, I have honor, but it's honor on my terms. We're gonna burn things, but we're gonna leave people a way out, and they better take that way out, or they'll die. But not because we killed them. We gave them a way out. We just burned things. And as far as like the entire them being an oppressed second class group, I totally can't get behind their I can't get behind their defense, because even there's a scene where we're presented with them living in a society, and they look like they're living in the society just normally, like they would in normal society. But you know what doesn't work? Everything's not burning. They're not randomly striking out and destroying and burning the things around them where they live. Apparently, they only do that in the main cities and where everybody else is. Like, it just,
Well,
it was just a convenient thing.
We never see anyone actually burn anything without an agenda. Like, there's a reason Leo is setting this building specifically on fire. It wasn't just to burn this building. That he has a purpose behind this.
Mm-hmm.
And we even see, like, the pizza guy later not burning anything, living a normal life. And so it's really like a war broke out between two sides. One side lost. A lot of people died from the war. And the side that lost has now become an underclassman. And this anime never shows us them continue to be violent towards people, except for, like I said, these three people who have an agenda. They're trying to they're doing a crime to get arrested. They aren't doing it just for fun at this point. Or we never see anyone hurt or burn anything just for fun.
I see where you're coming from, but the context that the movie presents things in leads me to believe that the people that we're seeing are just like drops in the ocean of what they've encountered, and that this is their definition and justification as gang leaders and burnished, who are saying, I mean, they say it themselves, the flame is screaming to be let out, like, right. It's eating at us. We have to let it out. We have to burn things. And so I don't know. The way that it's portrayed and the way that they are defined in the movies, and the sheer number of lives that were lost, just if you think about the outbreak of the ones that we did see in the beginning, those were crowded places, and they just started annihilating everybody. Because we saw so many different people.
But those initial ones weren't really by choice. They just kind of...
Oh, that's exactly what I mean.
Whole thing happened, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that they would necessarily target people to kill people with their fire. What I'm saying is that if you have like some natural behavior or outlet that is such a massive danger to the rest of the population, if you don't keep it perfectly under control, then to allow them to just walk around alongside everybody else when they could just, at a moment's weak willpower, fry our building complex or fry
Right.
people if they get mad on the street. It's
And
just
the
too
fact that
dangerous. I don't
the
see them
fact that a
living in a
rescue
society.
team even exists
It means it happens a lot.
implies that this happens. And so
Mhm.
I do think they're definitely a danger, and I agree with that. But I think the anime goes out of its way to portray them more as victims of their own powers than they are.
Yeah.
They're not evil, and yet
Yeah.
they end up getting treated
Yeah.
way worse.
But that's an issue I have with the anime, I think, is that the context and the world building that it provides says one thing, but then the images and the story that this character and this current setting wants to tell you about how these people are oppressed says something completely different, and the two are in contradiction.
Right. My thoughts on Leo. I want to say that the English dub is amazing for an English dub, and they brought back like all-star English dubbers. Steve Bloom is the captain of the team and stuff. Johnny Young Bosch plays Leo, and nobody screams in rage like Ichigo from Bleach. When he's pissed, he does it perfect, and to hear that again, so good. And yeah, so I really like Leo. He's you guys mentioned he says that we only kill if we have to. And he says it out loud because this anime can't be subtle and it needs to tell the audience, hey, this guy's not evil. Yeah, he's bad guy, but he's not evil guy. No, there's a difference. And so we're going to have this character out loud say this multiple times because we have no time for subtlety and we're going a million miles an hour. But I like the character. I don't like him as much as I like Gallo. There's a little bit. He's a little up his own butt sometimes. A little high horse. But I think he means well. And like I said, we don't know what came first, the terrorist group or the evil corporation abducting, citizens. So who knows?
Yep.
All right, so they apprehend him, and then the actual police for this situation show up, and they're led by Colonel Vulcan, who literally growls his own name whenever he's just standing there. He's like, Vulcan. Okay. And he starts to arrest Gallo for even getting involved. He's like, nope, you didn't have jurisdiction. And Ignis, the chief of rescue team, is like, no, we have jurisdiction in an emergency situation. He's like, no, I'm the judge if that's happened, so I get to arrest him if I want. This guy is a villain because he has pointy teeth.
Right.
Right. And he's bald and big.
So what are your guys' thoughts on Vulcan?
Simple evil bad guy is simple evil. I don't have a ton of thoughts on him because he just served that purpose. He was an antagonist to everyone, even though he was on the side of justice. I thought he had a couple interesting lines when it came to legalese, but that's about it.
I thought he was funny, and I thought he was, especially as the movie progresses, he gets funnier and funnier to me. But yeah, nothing extra other than that.
Jason said he's bald and big, but that's not true.
Right. Yeah.
He's bald and tiny.
Yep.
I mean, we don't really have time for multiple complex villains, if any. So yeah, he's very simple. I'm bad person is bad. For all the things I love about this anime, I hate his car. I'm like, he's the most powerful Humvee of all time. For some reason, that's the one thing that's stuck in my craw of like all these cool mechs and all these cool robots, and this guy's driving in a Humvee/hover Humvee.
I did like that the tires doubled as the hover cylinders. That was cool.
It just felt so like bland compared to everything else. everything's else dialed low to 11. I'm like, oh, that actually like is what they would use.
Well, I mean, the radiator looked like a huge mouth with huge teeth, which irritated the absolute crap out of me. But
Yeah, so he takes Leo away, and they take Leo and his men into prison, and they're thrown in prison with all the other terrorists, and all the other terrorists are just like people in bandages who are clearly been hurt badly. One person's on the verge of dying, and we kind of realize, oh, this was intentional. They were trying to get arrested so they could find the rest of their group and help free them. And they're putting like these handcuffs that if you generate heat, it will automatically freeze you. Meanwhile, our main character Gallo gets a nice shiny medal from the governor of the city / head of the corporation that runs the city / all around Mr. Incredible. He's got big broad shoulders, bright blonde hair, and he never opens his eyes.
Yeah.
And this is Cray. Again, obvious villain is obvious.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, a little bit Homelander from The Boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Cray is our villain. What did you guys think of Cray?
Similar to Volcom in the fact that he's kind of simple as far as I'm evil because evil, but I did like his motivations because they were kind of like practicality and survival over critical thought and morality. He kind of saw an opportunity and he takes it in the most evil way possible. But he's I did like that he's got, like, I just kept thinking he would fit perfectly as a Moff on a Star Destroyer. Like, he's got that personality of I'm a leader and I'm willing to do literally anything to accomplish my goals, no matter who gets hurt. And also his mecha is really cool.
Yeah, he was a really great character, I thought, as far as interesting development goes, because, well, not development as in arcs, but just interesting origin and interesting behavior. Because you're right. You can tell right at the beginning that he's the bad guy. Tanya was watching this with me, and I was like, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's such a bad guy. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. But you're also right that he has survival in mind, and the things that he's doing are to solve a big problem that's actually going to cost everybody their lives. But what I see is arrogance is his biggest flaw. Is this arrogance allows him to basically just pick a direction that he wants to go and stop thinking about other options and just go with that and force everything to fall into line there. I also think that it has a lot to do with him wanting to essentially get as far as he can, since he feels like he's shouldn't be anywhere, just based on the fact that we find out about him at the end. I mean, since we're past the spoilers free, so I'll just say it, but he's also burnished, and so for him to be in this position, it's something that shouldn't really be possible. And so he's I can also see it as him being like, nope, I'm going to be in control because it's the only way I can ensure my survival. And yeah, even his mecha, the fact that his mecha attacks are means of terraforming on a place that they intend to go is really cool. It's forward thinking and it's consistent. I liked that part. He was probably the most consistent character up until the final twist of the burnished part that I really liked.
I love Cray as a villain. I mean, if you don't get it, like in the first 5 seconds, they then go to a pizza place and are talking about him, and they're like, "Oh yeah, and he had all the technology, and he's the head of the government, and he's the head of the corporation." It's like, okay, he's definitely the bad guy. You don't put that much power into one character unless he has to be defeated.
Yep.
He's very tropey. He's my eyes are always closed, and if they open, you're in trouble. He looks insane when he goes crazy. He's the opposite of Gallo in the fact that like he never faces any problem head on. He always looks for a way around it. And I have a theory, and it might be way too deep for this movie.
Probably
but,
is.
but Jeremy, like you said, he's looking for a solution, but they keep pointing out to him, you have like almost all the technology you need to solve your problem.
Yes.
And yet you're insisting of doing it this way. And he
Yes.
knows that if he does it, the entire world will be covered in magma, which might actually be fueled by his instinct to burn everything. He might actually be giving in to his burnish instinct and be
I
like,
like that.
I'm saving the world, but I'm also burning it, yes.
Oh, that's very good. I hadn't considered that. I think you're absolutely right. I don't know if they intended to write that, but it fits good.
Right. That's why I said
That would make sense.
This might be too deep for this movie. But after the second view, when I watched it the second time, I was like, this might actually be him giving into the instinct. Because he says, I don't give into that instinct. But then they keep pointing out, you could totally do this. You don't need to destroy the world to do what you're doing. So yeah, that's my thought. Yeah. So then they have that scene where we learn basically Cray had saved Gallo as a child from a burnish attack on his home. And we also learned that Ina has a big sister who works for him in the science department. She's the head scientist, because, you need to know who the head scientist is for a story of this type.
I do like for the good guy firefighters, the more main character you are, the less clothing you're wearing.
Yeah. Gallo has like no shirt on.
Gallo wears
All
a
the
shirt
time.
to the pizza place, but he takes his shirt off if he's fighting a fire because he wants as much skin exposed as possible. Matter of fact, in the fight with Leo before, when his suit falls off and then Leo's caught in it, he goes, "I didn't get naked just for fun." That's his line. And I'm like, you might have a little bit of exhibitionist in there, pal. So yeah, then the freeze force shows up and they arrest the cook of the pizzas because he's a burnish, and the rescue team is like, he's just a peaceful citizen who makes pizzas. It doesn't matter. He shouldn't be arrested. It's not illegal to be a burnish. He's like, oh no, he might be a terrorist, so we have to arrest him. And we're arresting the pizza owner because he harbored a terrorist. He's like, wait, no, you said he might not be a terrorist. This guy didn't do anything illegal. He's like, no, he might be a terrorist, so it could be illegal. So we have to arrest them both. That's when you know something's up.
Court to decide.
And then all the customers are like, oh, this was made by Burnish, gross pizza, and Gallo gets all mad at racism or whatever, and this is where they have the line like, you don't get to tell people what to think. So he's like, I'm leaving. And he gets on his motorcycle and he drives off. And he drives off to a frozen lake, and Ina comes out and follows him. And we do need to talk about her, but I just gotta say, they come out to this lake and they're talking about, hey, this is a frozen lake and it's so many feet deep. And I'm like, oh, this is an important location that's coming back in the movie, because this movie does not do subtlety anywhere.
He specifically says, yeah, I dug 5 meters down. It's all ice.
But I also want to say, at the same, while my brain is thinking, this is so obvious plot point, I cannot handle it. Then they do this underneath shot of them like walking and skating along the ice, where you're looking through the light beams, and it's this beautiful shot. My brain's like, shut up, just shut up and watch.
Yep.
But now we need to talk about Ina. She's the pilot and a member of the rescue team. Thoughts on her and her sister, I guess, is also an important part. They kind of serve a dual purpose in the story.
Serve a purpose as far as being plot hooks. I didn't really see them much as characters, unfortunately. Ina had more of the spotlight than her sister. Her sister felt more like a plot factoid than she was an actual character in the movie. And it ended up being confused whether you were going to ship Gallo with Ina or with Leo by the end. So
Leo kisses one of them.
yeah.
And I haven't looked, but I guarantee you the internet has made its choice. I can almost guarantee the fan art's out there.
Right. But no, besides that, I thought she was an okay character. Just very predictable, very uh I guess trope-ish for a side character in this particular situation, but yeah, she didn't stand out too much to me. So
Jeremy?
Yeah, well, I mean, with Leo in the role of the deuteragonist, there really wasn't a lot of room for her. And I did think it was funny that she was interested in him romantically. You could tell. And I thought that kind of lent at least a little bit of a flavor of, having some romance in it that was obvious. But otherwise, yeah, I just see her as sort of like she's transportation. She's occasionally there to further the plot. And she's there to anchor him to the scientists so that they have some connection. And that's it.
Yeah, I actually agree with you guys, and I actually one of my big complaints is about this romantic subplot. So while they're on the ice, like she falls and he catches her, and they almost do this kiss, but then he turns out he's looking at something else that we'll talk about.
Reflection. Yeah.
Yeah. And they set up this romantic subplot for these two characters and then never touch it again. It's not addressed. It's not resolved. And that is actually where I got thinking, like, is this supposed to be bigger? And they had to cut that down or cut that out because it does.
Yeah.
It felt like they were setting something up here and then they don't. And I'm like, well, why not just cut the whole? Why even bother start setting up a romantic subplot if you're not going to have one? I mean, it's not a huge deal, but that bothered me with the storytelling because I'm like, well, you literally, okay, this character is going to be this, but we don't have time for that. Bye. You go fly your plane and carry them around. So that is actually why I put her, like you said, she doesn't do much, but I wanted to touch on that because I felt that was a fair point for what's supposed to be a bigger character.
Yeah. One of the things that this anime really reminded me of is, I don't know if you've ever run into people that do this, but when they want to tell a story, they'll just basically go kitchen sink with it, and they'll be like, so then this thing happened, and then this other wild thing happened over here, and then this other wild thing, where it winds up not really having a coherency. And I kind of viewed that moment as the same thing, where it'd be like, just like you were saying, Jason, the drunk people, where they're like, it'd be cool if, and it'd be funny if, and that's where that scene kind of ended for me. But I think you're probably right. They probably could have.
I feel like something. I feel like the storylines between Gallo, Leo, and Cray are solid, and then every other character was here like they were going to be important. I mean, we are introduced to all the names of all the rescue team, and they get 5 minutes altogether in the whole movie. It's really weird. Like they were going to be bigger, but they get like title cards above them, like, this is Varys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you anything about Varys other than he likes pizza a lot.
And he's got super strength.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I also randomly have super strength.
Yep.
Forgot
okay,
that
apparently
and
that's
he uses it responsibly.
Too.
That's why he's not an oppressed citizen.
Yeah. I don't get this show. I don't understand it. That's why I was asking Tanya immediately. I'm like, wait, is that another mutation? Are there other mutations? And then Gallo's running as fast as cars. And I'm like, so does Gallo have super speed? Like, is that another mutation?
Oh, his butt was on fire.
Oh, that's what happens to everybody when their butt's on fire.
Oh, was your studio trigger too.
Was it his fire?
I was wondering that too. I was like, is he burnished?
While the whole pizza thing was also happening, Leo and his team managed to break out of the prison. They steal a transport and he flies off. And they actually end up really close to this lake. And they hide in the cave. And that's what Gallo sees in the reflection of the ice that stops him from kissing, or maybe he wasn't going to. I don't know. And so he goes to investigate while she goes and gets help. Gallo sneaks up in there, but they catch him immediately, knock him out, and he wakes up, and they basically have a conversation. They're like, hey, you hate our kind. They're like, well, your kind burns everything. He's like, shut up, we're trying to eat. And the wounded, the prisoner who was wounded and was dying, they try to save her, and Gallo's like, hey, I have like CPR equipment on my bike, let me help. They're like, no, that's not how we do this. And we see Leo put the flame breath into her to try to heal her. But it doesn't work, and she turns to ash, and we find out that's what happened to Burnish when they die. They burn up into ash. And
So what's the point at which a Burnish dies versus just burns away parts of its body? Because it says that's what he describes it as, is the fire that's coming out, it burns our bodies as fuel, and then our bodies regenerate from the fire. But
Yep.
when we die, so I'm like, so how do you know when you've burned so much that you die? Like, where is that threshold?
are you expecting like an answer?
Yeah,
or...
like something definitive.
You're not going to get
like,
one.
Ah.
Well, without spoiling the end of it, it seemed like it was once your connection was broken, basically.
When your triangles are gone.
Yeah,
How
when you
does
have no
that
more
happen?
triangles and you're all squares, because squares were the bad guys,
Oh.
depending on where you were in the story, by the way.
And by the way, I love that about Studio Trigger. That like, there's just a theme of triangles versus squares in this, and that's just you need to deal with that. They just like it that way.
That was in Kill la Kill too, wasn't it? Like triangles were a huge part of Kill la Kill.
That and like solar flares off of nipples. There's so much.
Yeah,
Scissors.
true. Scissors, yeah.
All right. This is Leo reveals because he's like, wait, you don't know what's happening? Cray is literally experimenting on us and has been capturing us and killing us. Like, we're not the bad guys here. Your governor that you love so much, he's the bad guy. And Gallo's like, oh, that can't be true. And so they leave.
And the audience is like, of course he is.
Right?
Yeah, we knew this.
What I do love, though, is that Gallo then immediately walks up to Cray and is like, are you evil? Are you the bad guy? I need
But
to
it
know.
fits. It's so
Yep.
consistent with his personality, and I respect that. I really like that they did that.
I hated that he first gives up the medal and he's
Right.
like, we don't deserve. He hasn't even admitted that he's done anything wrong. Cray hasn't.
No.
And he's like, we don't deserve to even be able to give this to each other, let alone have it. And he's like, and then he's like,
Yeah.
but are you evil?
He's such an
How
idiot.
about you establish whether he's evil first before giving back the medal? Like,
He's
It
just
gets
an
better,
idiot.
though. Because now, the evil guy who has brilliant plan that, is about to happen is like, hold on, let me tell you everything.
Yeah.
Also,
For the benefit
we're
of all
about
you
to
viewers
find
at home.
out. Also, we're about to find out. I hate you and wish you would die. But let me tell you everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
and take
That
you
was
on this
good.
impossibly ridiculously expensive tour of
Yep.
items that we would only have for
Yeah.
this one purpose to
Yeah, they-
explain
Yes.
what we're doing.
Get in
Yeah.
an elevator and it goes through like a
A
hologram.
hologram. Yeah.
And then multiple doors.
Yes.
He even comments,
so many
why are there so
doors."
many doors?
Yeah.
All right, so we should explain what Cray's plan is. Cray is like, hey, the world's about to end. In 6 months, all the magma in the Earth's core is going to come to the surface, and everyone's going to die. And what we're going to do is I have built a giant spaceship, and we're going to put 10,000 humans on it. We're going to fly to the nearest Earth-like planet. And we figured out that if you spin a Promare really fast, you can create a portal and jump through space-time.
You mean burnish.
Burnish, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you spin a burnish, you can create a portal. So, also, it kills the burnish. And it's actually the pizza guy, who we know, again, just the guy who's making pizza. They spin him, and he starts dying, but a scientist is able to jump through a hole and then come out on the other side. And so they're going to gather all the burnish, create a giant hole, fly the ship through, and leave Earth behind. and Gallo's like, just stop the magma. Because direct approach, right? Just face the
Yeah.
problem and beat it. And Cray's like, that's dumb. We're not going to do it that way. He's like, well, I can't help you. He's like, well, then you're under arrest. And he punches him, and he's like, oh, by the way, I freaking hate you.
Oh my
That's
god,
what I
why'd you
love.
hit me? He's like, I hate when you call me that.
Yeah. I loved that. That's the part of this whole thing that this whole interview moment that I just thought was a great twist. Like, I didn't see that coming. That was really funny.
Especially, yeah, because he spends all this time trying to recruit him, and then is like, oh, by the way, I don't care if you're on my team. I want you to die.
I've always hated you. I actually put you in the Fire Force because it has a high mortality rate, and I wanted to see you die.
So he's arrested, and then Leo's the colony of Burnish that Leo's trying to get to is attacked by Freeze Force, and they're starting to be captured. Again, these ones aren't actually criminals. They're just people living in an old bridge, and they're hiding near volcanoes so they can't be spotted by thermal scopes. And Leo's team arrives to save them from Freeze Force, but they start losing, and you find out, oh, the old guy in Leo's group is a traitor. And they give the reason that, like, the older you are, the more you want to save your skin for the time you have left. So
Which is, that's like the opposite of what usually happens. The
Right.
older you are, the more wise you are, the more you're like, I'm really ready to relinquish my soul.
So yeah, the old guy. This actually felt kind of ageist. The old guy's the villain, but he gets captured too. Everyone's being captured by the Freeze Force, and Vulcan hits Leo with a. Oh, wait, I wrote it down. It's a super bullet.
Absolute
the
zero.
Sub-Zero.
Absolute zero bullet. The more heat you make, the more it freezes. And so his Leo's two buddies build a catapult cannon
Out of fire.
They can do that, and they shoot him, and he flies off into a volcano, and the rest of them are captured. They're plugged into the engine, and the engine's tested, and it works, and they're like, okay, we can take the ship into space, and they're going to leave early. They're not going to wait the 6 months. They're like, let's...
I did love that, like, they've got this technology that not only will freeze harder the more heat you pump into it, but we cannot stop the magma. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
But I think, I said, I think the movie's doing that intentionally to be like, guys, they could totally stop the magma if they wanted.
He wants it to burn.
Yeah, I think, but it does not ever
I tend
say
to
that.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, like, we find out the reason, like, Ina's sister is helping with this whole evil plan is because it guarantees Ina a spot on the arc of the ship, that's going to leave. Because Ina, the rescue force finds out that Gallo got arrested, and Ina goes there and talks to her sister, and her sister's like, "No, he totally attacked Cray. That story is true." That's. But also, when I call you, you need to run back here. Just be ready to do that. And then we see Leo in the volcano in a very cool scene, and Leo's theme music kicks in, which is another ripping song. It's so good. And he basically turns into a giant dragon. There's a big fire dragon. And he's in the eye, and like they even point out, like you can see it. The dragon's like crying smoke or fire tears. Yeah. And he's like half fueled by the volcano, and he's raging through the city. Somehow, he manages to destroy where Gallo is being held in prison. But I thought that was the center tower, but he hasn't reached center tower yet. So, anyway, Gallo gets freed randomly. Vulcan tries to fight Leo. Leo defeats him, throws him into a wall. And then Rescue Force is out. They're trying to put out all these fires being made by Leo. And this is Gallo comes running up beside them with his butt on fire as fast as like a Corvette and a fire truck raging down the city. And then he like jumps and bounces around until he lands in the back of the fire truck. Very, very Studio Trigger. And I saw it and I'm like, oh, Jeremy's gonna not like that.
Nope.
And then you got the two in the back trying to put him out, and he won't go out. So they put like weird gel on him.
They're like, you got arrested. We're not worried about that right now. They put him in his mech and they shoot him out. Leo is confronting Cray. This is like the first real reveal that Cray is more than he says he is, because he actually comes out to fight him and is like, I'm not afraid of your flames. His hand, which is supposed to be missing, starts glowing.
I thought he was going to be an ice guy, and I thought he had like prosthetic technology that was going to let him do that.
Yeah, I can see that. Um,
Because they mentioned in the very beginning, like he lost his arm, but then it switches back to him giving Gallo the medal, and he had an arm. So I was like, oh, he's got a prosthetic.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
they're about to start fighting, but instead Gallo rushes in with his thing and like slams into Leo the eye of the dragon. And this is one of my favorite scenes. This is like my favorite scream. It's not even that hot at all. He's like calling Leo out, like, you're angry, fire. Not that great. Not impressed.
I felt
Which
better.
this fire is absolutely annihilating and destroying the things it's touching. So I don't understand how his bare-chested body is doing fine because of
Because of his
willpower.
firefighter's soul
He's
burns
sweating.
hotter.
Oh God, soul sweat. It doesn't. Oh. You can't just have things work because you want them to work. That's shoddy writing. Ah.
I mean, you're not wrong. But it was so cool. I love this moment. He's just like headbutting into the biggest fire he's ever seen and yelling out, "It's not even that hot!" While also saying, "So hot, so hot."
Yeah.
um, they get grabbed by Ina plane, and they're inside Ina's plane punching each other. And he's like, "No, I won't let you kill him. You said you're not a killer. I'm not letting you take that step. And I'm mad at him too, but we're not going to be those people." And then Ina drops him in random location. No, it's the ice lake.
Yeah. Which actually, I was okay with that because it made sense where she's like, "You guys need to cool off," and she figured it would melt and turn to
Yep.
water, and I was
mean,
like, "Okay, that makes sense."
it was set up. The writing doesn't like not set things up. It just does it very bluntly. It's like, I don't have time to be subtle about why there's an ice lake in this scene. This is coming back, and it's going to be important.
Yeah.
So they hit the lake. He's so hot it melts all the ice and evaporates all the water.
So what about the proximity that he is with Gallo? If he's so hot that he melts ice that fast, but it
Yeah, but
doesn't
he's
hurt
got his
Gallo.
Firefighter's soul.
got his firefighter
burns
soul.
God,
hotter.
it's so dumb. So dumb.
So they're at the bottom. The Myotech is ruined. His mech suit is ruined. They're at the bottom of this empty crater.
And enter my favorite portion of the movie.
Wait, Leo's sleeves have burned off because he was so
Oh,
hot.
well, there. His own clothes, but not Gallo.
He slowly gets shirtless, just like Gallo,
Yeah.
throughout the movie. And I kind of love that. Anyway, yeah. Also, there's a super secret science facility at the bottom of this lake. And a
Weird
AI
hologram thing.
Yep, AI hologram appears as like, "Oh, hey guys,
Grandpa.
I need you guys to come inside." So Ina shows up as well. They all go inside.
Well, hold on. I love that Ina calls them out for it too, because they just start following this thing inside. She's like, "Where are you guys going? Why would you follow that?"
Oh,
Let's see where it goes.
I also forgot to call out when he hits the dragon, and he tells him about his firefighter soul. He says it's 1,010 times hotter. Not 1,000,000, 1,010. This movie gets me. All right, back to the AI. There was a scientist. His name was Deuce Prometh.
Deus.
Prometh. I always call it Deuce. I know I say it wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Deus Prometh.
Because a deuce is something you leave behind in the toilet.
Yeah, I know.
Deuce is wild.
Basically, the AI is like, "Hey, I was a scientist, and I'm the one who developed all the tech to deal with the burnish, the ice bullets, all that stuff was me. And the engine that creates the teleport." And I was like, "Oh, that engine is going to kill them. Well, I'm not going to use that." And Cray, who's like, "Have you told anyone else about this?" And I was like, "No, I should answer that truthfully." And then Cray shoots him. We see on a video Cray murdering the scientist. And the AI is like, "Yeah, so I had backed up my consciousness. So I'm here. I've also perfected the very engine that they're using. And I need you guys to go and stop him. Also, you need to understand where all this fire is coming from. You see, the fire's not fire. It's interdimensional aliens It's a parallel dimension where instead of Earth, there's a star, but also the aliens are in the Earth's core.
Yeah, there's a fissure in space-time that's been ruptured, and the aliens have come through. So it's kind of like underneath a door where like a little bit of flame is licking out underneath the door.
Right. And that's why there are Burnish. It's actually their Promare acting through them. The reason the Burnish want to burn is because that's what Promare are supposed to do. They're literally giving into the Promare's instincts, and the Promare are connected to them. But also, if you hurt the Burnish, the Promare will feel it, and they'll go crazy and destroy the Earth. That's why the magma's been getting bad, because you've been hurting the Promare or the Burnish this whole time. Yeah. Anyway, I built you a mech.
So you let the Burnish burn everything, and the Promare are happy, but you have fire on the surface. If you stop the Burnish, and in the process of stopping them happen to hurt them, the Promare get upset and they burn the Earth on the inside. So like, no matter what, you're screwed because the Promare just came into the Earth's magma.
Unless you have a special mech that Jason, what is it called?
It's called the Deus Ex Machina. My favorite name for a mech ever.
And very clever naming the scientist Deus so that you can sneak it in there.
Yep.
And so this uses the same engine as the teleporter, but this one doesn't hurt or kill the user. So he's like, "Oh, I'll need you two to pilot it," and it's just like this big glass blobby thing.
Yeah, it's really dumb looking.
And Ina's like, "What would have happened if these two never showed up?"
Yeah, I guess we'd be doomed.
Yeah, the guys. Yeah, they asked like, "What? Why are we the pilots?" Because you showed up. I wasn't gonna go looking for anyone. You guys were gonna die. Guess you got lucky.
Perfect.
See, and that's the only thing that can justify him being a sentient construct in this network that's able to actually look out and spy on networks outside of this. So, like, it can look out and see what Kray's doing, but it never chooses to interact outside of itself. Like, the only thing that could possibly make sense of that to me is this old man already saying, "Well, I guess you're doomed." He's literally just opening a bag of popcorn and watching to open the network.
Some people like to watch the world burn.
And he literally goes, "Signing out." He just turned off. Yeah. Like, I'm done with it. I've done my part in the story. I provided a super mech. I don't need to do anything.
There's the
I gave all the
facility gets destroyed.
Exposition that Gallo slept through.
Yeah.
So they take the mech, and the ship has launched, and they crash into the ship. And Leo's like, "Gallo, what are you doing?" He's like, "But the ship is so lame. I can't."
Yeah, this mech. This mech is so lame.
The mech is so lame. I can't pilot it. He's like, "Fine," and he like covers it with the burnish armor, so it gets a very Gurren Lagann looking look. It even like stands with the arms crossed. And it's not a coincidence that we have a mech being piloted by two pilots. It's and so they're just outside, like kicking the bridge, and like he's like doing flying kick, but he's just stomping on the hole trying to get through.
That cracked me up.
And so Kray orders that everyone goes to the secondary bridge, and he'll go on the primary bridge. Meanwhile, the engine's spinning up, and the portal is opening up, and and Kray turns the bridge into this giant mecha that's like twice the size of their mecha, and the ship like ate half the city, so there's like a city inside it. So they fall into there, and so they have this big fight in this big, bright, shining city.
Yeah, just destroying this thing he's trying to preserve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's okay because all the people are in bunkers, so no one actually died during this.
Yeah, they make sure to let us know.
I did like that the bad guy wasn't actually just murdering people, because he's like, "I clearly put him in bunkers."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not a monster."
He's so evil, and to have that, no, I considered human life. Come on. All right.
I'm saving 10,000. That's enough.
The fight goes back and forth. They keep breaking his weapons, but they still are getting overpowered until.
And this is where he's using weapons that were originally intended for terraforming on the new planet that they were going to wind up at. So he literally has a cannon that he can shoot, and whatever it hits gets turned into soil with green things growing out of it already. Like when you get your second shot of the pile of rubble that was once a building that's now like a pile of dirt, like a hill, it has grasses and stuff growing in it. So somehow his terraforming beam converts it to soil and causes the plants to grow instantly. Like this is amazing stuff he's got here. And he's got his special pile driver weapon that like allows him to breach bedrock and get to water. Like it's just I love that he's using these survival tools to fight. I thought that was really cool, and it shows that he didn't build a weapon for himself to fight with. He's just making use of the things that he has to survive. That was really cool.
My favorite part about this fight is that he's not getting upset that he's getting beat by Gallo and Leo. He's not upset that his stuff's getting broken. He's upset that he keeps coming up with names for stances and attacks. He's like, stop naming your attacks.
Right. I read it. Yeah, Gallo changed the name to the Leo Gallon, the mech. And then when they start losing, they build a Matoi spear to battle with just because it pumps Gallo up. Right? Yeah. He's like, oh, now I'm fired up.
And now it breaks the weapon that was previously defeating them. Right. Even though it's actually made of the same substance that when coming into contact with this weapon was being defeated, simply because he is pumped up, it now works. I hate that.
But the line that Cray has of "quit making stupid names" is
that was awesome.
Good. I also really like his mech has like an extendable neck, and it's again the bridge is where he's sitting, and so like when they punch the face and the neck whips, you see him whipping back and forth in the bridge, all crazy. Like I like that touch.
That's the weirdest design I've ever seen. It was funny.
They battle until the ship crashes. The ship crashes because the engine fueled by burnish overheats, and that's because the scientist girl who her sister didn't get on the Ark, and they showed her a video of Cray killing the old man scientist. She basically self-destructed the ship. So the ship crashes. They go back outside, and Cray pulls out like, I have this super zero thermal cannon that freezes everything it touches. And they're like, why didn't you use that on the magma? He's like, it's too hot to go near the magma. He fires it at them, and Gallo runs straight into it. Leo's like, what are you doing? He's like, just grin and bear it. We're going in. And so, they get up there, and they touch his chest, and they blow up his mech. And they both their mechs are destroyed, basically. And then Craig comes out, and he's like, hey, Leo, I killed people that you like. Come get me. Leo takes the bait, comes running at him, and blasts him with fire. And then Craig's like, yeah, your fire doesn't hurt me. I'm also a burnish. Surprise! I have a robot arm full of fire. Now my hair's on fire. I look way crazy because my eyes are way open. Mm-hmm. And he also reveals, I'm the one who set fire to Gallo's home, and then he ran into my arms. I didn't save him, but I was like, oh sure, I'll take credit for this. And he blasts Gallo away with flame, shoots him over the side of the building, and incinerates him. He's gone. And he grabs Leo and the engine out of Leo's mech. And he's like, well, this'll make the engine work again. And they go to the core. And Freeze Force shows up, but the rescue team shows up and starts battling Freeze Force. And I love when the Chief and Vulcan drive their cars into each other and headbutt each other.
They yell their names. They yell their names. The Chief is like, Ignis, and Vulcan. I'm like, what is this? You don't name yourself as you're fighting? But it was fun.
I just love that the attack they both chose was a headbutt. Like, no flying punch, no kicks, head to head. They go check on Gallo, and he's fine. He's covered by a shield flame that Leo had put on him, so he couldn't be hurt by fire. So the scientist girl puts him in a backup Mateo mech they had, but this one has a drill attached. The drill that will pierce the core of the ship. Not the heavens. But like I saw a drill and I was like, I see you, your trigger. I see you.
Yeah. Gotta have your spirals.
Yeah, they shoot him back into the ship. He goes through the city and goes all the way to the core. Leo and the other Burnish are fueling the engine again. Leo's starting to die, but also he can hear the voices of the Promare, but his fingers are starting to like turn to ash. Then we get our final battle. Gallo basically comes down and he's like, "This is a fire rescue operation. Leave me alone." And the bad guy's like, "I'm gonna kill you." And he blasts Gallo with this huge flame, and Gallo just walks through it. And then he's like, "Yep, I guess I'm still protected by Leo's flame." And I love it. I wrote this down. He says, "First, I'm going to save him. Second, I'm going to save the Earth. And third, I'm going to even save you." And then he just decks him and knocks him out. And then he goes back and does CPR on Leo by taking the flame that was protecting him, shoved it into his mouth, and doing. And I gotta say, there was some really cool firefighter iconography in this. One of the guys has the jaws of life on his mech that he used to open a door in the beginning.
That's true.
And this was like straight up good CPR, like he tilted the chin and stuff. I like that there's they stuck with the firefighter theme. Brings him back to life, regenerates his arms, his legs.
It's upset that he actually started a fire.
Yeah. Leo, Jeremy, are you going to be okay here as we go through this last part?
I don't know. At this point, I've just given up.
So Leo wakes up and he's like, "Hey, I heard the voice of the Promare. They have to be satisfied once to get to burn everything. They just have to do it once. So I need you to help me set the world on fire." And he's like, "Wait, no, then that'll be bad. I'm a firefighter." He's like, "No, that's what I need you." And so they both get into the engine, and somehow the engine transports back to the mech. The mech becomes as big as, like a flame as big as the world, standing on top of the world. Very Gurren Lagann.
Yes.
Arms crossed. The music, the finale music is pumping, and one's like, "I am the will to burn everything, and I have the will to protect people." So there's a fire that spreads across the entire solar system,
but it's blue.
Yeah. It's blue, but it doesn't hurt anybody. Like
it consumes the sun. It consumes every planet.
And spins a lot, and he uses a fire matoi to like spin it around him, and
then he starts punching the planet.
I was so confused. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't understand any of this. This is so ridiculous.
Well, if you have a problem, to solve it, you punch it.
You just punch it. Even if there's a flame that's consuming everything, but the flame doesn't do any damage. It's an illusory flame, really. But somehow it satisfies the Promare. It has to consume the solar system, but it stops at the solar system. It didn't just consume the planet. There's absolutely nothing that made sense here. And that just drove me nuts.
And I'm not going to try and justify it.
Yeah.
So cool. and honestly, it's probably mostly cool because of the music. Like I can't explain what happened. I just visually it was cool. The music was emotionally resonating. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, what was funny is like everyone's like, "Oh, this fire doesn't seem to be hurting me," and then this wave of blue flame comes, and everyone gets knocked in the air.
Flying. It's like a wave of water that's fire sweeping across the planet.
But it doesn't hurt them.
No, it still doesn't hurt them. Even if it happens to move them, they're still going to be fine. Because like tsunamis, waves of water, they deal damage. But no, this fire doesn't damage them that way. Yeah.
He punched it. So
yeah, he punched the fire out.
So that the movie ends where they're standing on the wreckage of the ship. Kray's like, "What happened?" He's like, "The Promare left. There's no more Burnish. Everyone's just a human again."
And we closed the dimensional rift.
Promare have gone home. And Gallo tells Leo, "You're gonna help with cleanup." and Leo's like, "You're an idiot." He's like, "I'm the universe's #1 firefighting idiot." The end. And
Wow.
to be fair, they've called him an idiot probably 20 times
Oh,
throughout this
yeah.
movie, and he
Oh.
himself has agreed. Yes, I am. I'm the number
Yep.
one firefighting. That's our movie, folks. Any other thoughts on the ending? Well, Jeremy, I think you've
I
shared yours.
hated it. I hated it.
It felt very Gurren Lagann to me. Like this is almost like a straight up. This is like a cousin of Gurren Lagann. The way the mech turns into an energy thing that's just bigger than the planet, and just does it. It was cool. All right, let's go on to our final reviews then. Jason, what'd you give it?
This is not my jam. The art was beautiful. The music was fantastic. The story was kind of there, I guess. The bad guys are pretty simple, and I don't even know if you could say it was a subplot, but like the subplot of morality. I like that there was no real bad guy in this movie. Like even the baddest of the bad guys, sure he did some evil stuff and he should probably be in prison for murdering his friend.
Yeah.
And really, like there was only 2 on-screen deaths. There was the doctor, and then there was the lady that she faded into ash.
And
And
the
so
pizza guy, didn't the pizza guy die?
We don't see him
No.
die. I'm assuming that he regenerated later.
They didn't kill him in the test, and he was in one of the pods. So I assume he lived with everyone else in the pods.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, normally I'd give something like this a 2 or 3, but it was actually pretty enjoyable once I turned my brain off. So I'm gonna give it a 4.
Wow.
All right, Jeremy, how about you?
This anime is about spectacle, and I knew that going into it, but it still it prioritized spectacle so much above story and above everything else that I just can't get behind it. But you are right. The animation is beautiful. The fight scenes are beautiful. They're choreographed really well. The music is really good. And it has its funny moments, and it has its moments that even though I know they're spectacle, I still enjoyed, and I still got like carried away by them a bit. But in the end, I wind up with a lot more frustration with the direction they go, because I can't help but try to make sense of it, and it's nonsensical. You can't. And so in the end, I have to give it a 2 out of 5. But I respect it for knowing what it is, being unabashed about it, and I mean, for God's sake, naming your mech Deus Ex Machina and yelling it, like, it's that part of it is brilliant. And if you like that kind of thing and you can get behind it, you'll like it. But I got to give it a 2 out of 5.
For me, it's a 4. I think it'd be a 5 with some adult beverages, and it might have been a 5 if it had been a series and actually gotten to flesh stuff out, maybe explain some stuff, taken some more time. Because I don't think Studio Trigger is bad at telling a story, but I mean their thing is like, we're gonna escalate. We're gonna start with a person entering a high school and doing some martial arts, and end with flying in space, fighting a space goddess. Like that's going to happen. And so I got everything I wanted from Studio Trigger. But yeah, you have to turn your brain off for this. I'm okay with that, but you have to know that, right? That has to be what you're looking for. It has to be what you want to enjoy this, and I think that's absolutely fine. There's room for that, and there's it's absolutely fine not to want that. So yeah, a 4 for me. Yeah, if I had a few beers, this would probably be a 5, and I'd probably. I've been walking. I'll be honest. I've been walking around all week, and every time I see my daughter, I'll yell about my firefighter soul.
I'm surprised you gave it a 4 and not a 5. I mean, you're jonesing to go watch it again.
I am. It is super fun. There are obvious flaws. Like I said, there's that romance subplot that doesn't even make sense. Super obvious setups of like a lake scene and bad guys. It's not like a masterpiece. This is not Ghost in the Shell or anything like that. It is fun as hell. It reminds me of Scott Pilgrim. Like Scott Pilgrim isn't like a perfect movie. it's just kind of, but it's super fun. I love watching Scott Pilgrim, and Scott Pilgrim is more about the spectacle of what Scott Pilgrim is than, hey, let's tell a romantic story between two characters and develop them.
Mm-hmm.
It,
I haven't seen it. I've heard good things.
Hey, yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
Mm.
Our next anime. We're doing our first retro pick of the new year. It is Jason's pick, and he has chosen Cowboy Bebop. So we'll be watching the first 13 episodes. I haven't seen them since they aired on Toonami, so that's like the
Wow.
first time. So a long time ago when I watched Cowboy Bebop. So I'm excited to go back and rewatch and catch up. And I think for you guys, it's first time.
It'll be
my
first time
viewing it.
It'll be my first time to watch an entire, set of 13 episodes. I've seen bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, we're only doing the first 13. We're not going to do the full
Right.
thing.
Right, because we only have so much time with these retro episodes, and we have to get back to regular stuff. I mean, guys, ReZero Season 2 Part 2 is coming out soon. We gotta be ready.
Oh, I can sense a 5 coming.
If you have thoughts on the movie Promare or any other anime we talk about, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you've listened to this podcast, and we'll try to get back to you, even if it's been a while. I think we had a comment on. Now I'm drawing a blank. It was an anime it was Dorohedoro. Last week we got a comment on Dorohedoro. It was a really good comment about like, hey, here's some stuff I know from the manga. No spoilers, but it was good. That's always fine too. So feel free to reach out and make touch with us. Yep. Nailed that. 1,010%. With that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Deus Ex Machina!
Sayonara.